We
We
made it,
made
yeah.
it.
Let,
Can you hear
yeah, I
me
can hear you
well?
well. How are you?
Perfect. I'm good.
Thank
How are
you.
you? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm good as well. It's been a busy day, but I guess it's later in Turkey. Probably like it's 2 hours more, right? Like
Yeah,
you're 2 hours
yeah,
ahead.
exactly.
Okay.
9 p.m.
So yeah, all good.
Sergi, thank you so much for taking this time. By the way, it's been a while for me since the last time I had a session like this. A lot has had happened, and right now I'm so happy to have you
I'm
here.
happy to be here as
I
well.
think it will be, thank you so much. And I think, it's going to be a very fruitful conversation for Turkish students. Eventually, after the session, we will translate this session into Turkish, and, share with others if, anyone wants to read it out. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. As I told you before, this is, going to be a very sincere, a little bit unprofessional conversation. We will just, want to hear your career journey, and that's
Perfect.
it. So
Happy to
thank you
share it.
so much. And let's begin. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Sergi Tejero. I'm from Andorra. I was accidentally born in Barcelona, but was raised in Andorra until 18 years old. And obviously, I have a passion for mountains, hiking, skiing, and also because, I come from a family that they love music, so they also taught me music. I consider, and we'll probably speak about that, but I consider to follow a musician career. But in the end, I decided it was better to follow another path. And yeah, that's who I am.
As I told you before, our main audience is usually students, but at the same time, I always love asking my guests, who should be listening to you today, in your opinion?
Well, I think anyone who likes to listen to new stories and life experiences, and also anyone who's planning his or her career. I remember when I was a student, sometimes you get confused, you don't know what you want to do. Um and perhaps, I was one of those students. It's very difficult to have like a clear view of what you want, even to study. But once you're studying what you have decided to study, what you want to follow as a career. So I'm gonna share, my experience. It's a single observation, but I guess that anybody who wants to have multiple views and get some insights and experiences should be listening to the not to me, but to your streaming line. So
Thank you. Perfect. Let's go back, way back. Let's talk about a little bit of your education. How was studying at the University of Barcelona? Because right now, a lot of Turkish students are considering getting their bachelor's degree
Mhm.
in continental Europe as well. And in that sense, would you suggest it to international students as well?
Sure. I mean, that was a long time ago because I think I finished uni at 22 years old. So it's been like 20 years almost since I finished uni. But it was good days. I mean, the University of Barcelona, it's located obviously in Barcelona. Barcelona, it's a nice city. It was the first time for me to live in a big city because, as I mentioned, I grew up in Andorra. The city offers a lot of opportunities, personal opportunities, professional opportunities. It has a lot of cultures within it. But speaking about the university, at that time, I think University of Barcelona was like very, very theoretical. So there was a little bit of disconnect between, like university and professional, let's say the enterprise, the company, so the business, the reality of business. I am aware that they have improved that, but to be honest, it's been 20 years since I was there. So I would have to check. That said, let's say the students there were mostly local from I would say from Catalonia, a few from Spain, but from Catalonia. At that time, many classes were taught in Catalan. So I remember, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I remember, students from the Erasmus program just saying, "Hey, I don't know Catalan. Could you switch to Spanish?" And there was no problem.
Oh,
There
no.
was no problem for the professor to switch to Spanish, really. So, but
Yeah.
any student considering to go to Barcelona, they must be aware that Catalan is another official language here, and in some parts of the city and of the population, they feel very strong about the language. They want to promote the language. So they will listen a lot to Catalan, but another opportunity to learn another language, I guess.
Yeah. So the thing is, for example, my cousin actually, she studied in Barcelona for a brief period of time for her master's degree. And she was so happy to be there because I think it was quite similar to like the way of living was similar to Turkish culture. And she was from, Antalya, so it was the similar vibes, the beach, the studies, like it was a combination of both. So she really enjoyed her time there,
I mean, I have no doubt that any student coming to Barcelona will have a good time. And in terms of let's say academic quality, there are like really good professors. It's just that sometimes with the language, you can struggle a little bit, but it shouldn't be a problem. I would say that if they want to come to Barcelona, and not only the University of Barcelona, but any university here, they do good prospecting in terms of what's the, let's say, share of international students that this program has, and this type of data and input. But there are a lot of right now international programs going on.
Yeah. So now a little bit more specific question. So after studying at University of Barcelona, you decided to do an MBA, I think. Can you tell us a little bit more about that decision? Like, because right now, many of the students, I did years ago as well, like whether to continue with the studies or, go straight into the working life. How was that period of time?
So for me, I studied from 2000 to 2004 economics, and I also started a bachelor in actuarial science, which I finished a little bit later while I was working already. But I started working already in 2003, a full-time job in a consulting firm. It was kind of an internship. It was part of my let's say educational program, which was called Enterprise, University and Society, EUS in Spanish. And there I got offered a full-time job at that consulting firm, but I also had a family business in Andorra, which was focused on auditing and consulting. And many things were going on in my dad's partnership because his partner died. Well, many life situations there. My dad was not very healthy, so I decided to go to Andorra and help the family business. That was for 2 years, 2004 to 2006. Everything kind of got stabilized, and then I joined a holding company called Caixa Holding, now Criteria Caixa, and I worked in the corporate development side there, doing some M&A and also controlling tasks for the stakes that the holding company was holding. But again, another issue at the family business, I had to go back in 2007. And after 3 years running the family business, I realized that it was not what I wanted to do. In my family business, I tried to push more the consulting business line, but the market was a little bit small, so and I couldn't kind of switch the weights between consulting and auditing. Auditing was the main business, and I didn't like auditing. And and that's when I decided to study an MBA. You know, like it was like, okay, look, an MBA will help me transition to a career more focused on consulting and maybe in an international firm. Also, an MBA will give me more background on business management, which I lacked a little bit because my education was economics, which is very theoretical, and actuarial science, and it's very finance and statistical focused. So I wanted to get this more like marketing, strategy background, general management background, even human resources management. You know, after having managed my family business for 3 years, I had to learn.
I was simultaneously thinking about it, by the way.
Learn it the hard way, but I wanted to get, you know, like the foundations, the theory, you know, like the different paradigms in the business management science. And also, as I mentioned, transition into career. And that's why I decided to study an MBA with a focus on general management, but also not forgetting my finance background. And that's why, you know, I chose Vanderbilt University, which is in the United States, because I wanted to go to the United States and be far away from home. And you know, there I also got a scholarship from the college, but also from the Fulbright program, which was great because you know, it really relieved the financial stress of any MBA, especially in the US.
Especially
they are super expensive. I think if I remember well, the yearly tuition was like $60,000 per year, something like that.
It's probably even more.
I'm sure with all the inflation going on, I have no doubt. But you know, to me, and looking back, I think it was a great experience to be able to work in the family business. I got a lot of exposure, and it really helped me to make the most of my MBA, because there are a lot of, you know, like the classes are mostly taught on a business case basis. So you were able to share experiences, also understand other colleagues' experiences. So I am one of those believers that if students want to get an MBA, they should first get some professional experience, because they would get they would get the most of it by having some professional experience.
And right now, many international firms do send, you know, associates to MBA programs. Anyways, it's a really good opportunity for many if the company provides that. Okay, so now we've concluded a little bit of, you know, your professional life, your educational life, but at the same time, could you please, you know, briefly walk us through about your journey towards the current ESG work that you're doing? So how did you end up where you are today? I know that you did, you know, various stuff in the, you know, financial and consultancy world, but could you please walk us through
I mean,
that?
I've always been very interested in sustainability, circular economy, you know, and this was probably one of the, let's say, learnings that my dad gave me. From very young age, I think we were one of the few people recycling, and you know, we were separating everything, and we had to take everything into our car because there were no bins and anything, and we had to drive the car maybe for like 2 hours to somewhere to recycle our stuff. So yeah, always passionate about sustainability. I even considered at one time to study sustainability engineering, like climate science, and I don't know the specific word in English, but there was a specific degree on that. But again, because, you know, like biased on what my dad was doing and, you know, like finance and economics, I didn't pursue it. So how do I end up in ESG? I mean, it was a long way. It was a long journey. I started first doing consulting for a Big Four. Then I moved to a boutique, everything focused on financial advisory services. And then after my first daughter was born, I joined again Criteria Caixa, the holding company I joined in 2006 as head of investor relations. And that's when, sustainable finance came into play. That was in 2016. And I think in 2018, we were already thinking about, like the potential or the possibility of issuing green bonds, put together a label bond or a sustainable finance framework. And then, everything fell together, I saw that there was this trend on sustainable finance. I really liked ESG. I became kind of the ESG expert in the company, putting together the first non-financial reporting statement, looking at, like ways to integrate ESG into the investment, in investment practice. And an opportunity at Fitch Ratings came up, and I took it. And that's how I landed my current role, which is ESG business development for one of the main rating agencies.
How long it's been?
So I joined in 2022, April 2022. No, April 2021, right? It's going to be 2 years in 22. It's going to be 2 years in April 2024. So it's been 2 years in my current role.
And a lot of things have changed in the, during the past 2 years, I think, in the ESG
even in the last
as well.
6 months.
True.
No, yeah, I mean, I think
it must be pretty dynamic for you.
I think the foundations have not changed at all, but a little by little it's taking shape, and there are like different let's say areas of work. One of them is obviously reporting standards, and there have been enormous progress in terms of reporting standards, especially in Europe. Now we have like the ESRS. With the CSRD, there's, like a common framework and obligation to report for different companies. There's also at the international level, ISSB, and ISSB has integrated different entities. It's also collaborating with GRI. So yeah, I mean, like there are a lot of pieces moving.
Many different moving pieces.
Reporting is one piece. Regulation is another piece. Ratings could be another small piece that plays in all of these. And then society, I think that society is changing also. Like 10 years ago, nobody was talking about sustainability in their household. I think more and more households at the individual level, they are starting to think more about like how sustainability comes into play in their day-to-day decisions. But yeah, nice. I mean, we still have a lot to do. We've seen how, like finally climate change is giving some serious signals. People may say no, like whether it's cyclical, but the truth is that 2023 has been the hottest year recorded. And in my opinion, we need to do a lot of things to change this trend and to make this society more sustainable and let's say what's the word for that, and durable. I mean, like if we do not change things, it's gonna finish. I mean, human beings and any kind of the life that we know will no longer be able to inhabit the earth. So yeah.
I think being a father has a little bit of an emotional touch on that. I think, that's what I see from my colleagues. Like the moment they become parents, they start valuing the earth, the life more, because it becomes the question of not us, being able to live, I wouldn't say peacefully, but more in tune with the earth. But more of what are we going to leave to the next generations?
Definitely, like sometimes I feel really, really sad about the situation, like when you start seeing some of the, pictures that you see around the world, like fires, like extreme
It's
drought.
heartbreaking.
You read about like lots of biodiversity going down, shrinking, and this is the planet that we will be leaving to our children, grandchildren, etc.
Yeah, yeah. In that sense, like if you think about university students, like, would you have any suggestions to them if they would like to, end up in a similar role to yours?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I would start like, perhaps my first advice is not thinking about the role itself, but the area they want to work on, and very broadly,
Mm-hmm.
because you always have time to specialize, and it's better. So let's think about consulting, right? Like
Correct.
if we think about consulting,
Mm-hmm.
imagine someone that wants to get into ESG consulting in a in an ESG consulting role. I would say focus in getting into consulting, like get the skills.
Think
Yeah.
first, yeah.
Get the skills to be a good consultant, and then, by honing up your current skills, knowledge, and by experience, then try to transition to the ESG. If you get it at first, that's perfect, like that's great. But, start from top and then go to the bottom. Obviously, for any student, I think that networking, it's critical. Like they need to network a lot with different people. You never know what anybody or where anybody will end up. Maybe the guy or the girl sitting next to you is gonna become the CEO of this big company, or the prime minister of this country, or the mayor of this city. So always try to broaden your network, and in an authentic way, because I've seen people networking, like very, very fake, and I don't think this is gonna stick long term. I think the other thing
Yeah.
is communication. Communication is very important. Uh, I would suggest any student to take courses into communication, how to communicate things, how to present, how to make things more concise and executive. And then especially for international students, and this applies for Turkish students, you need to be proficient in English. And this is
Yeah.
something that the sooner you start working on your English skills, the better. So.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the main topics that I've seen so
Mhm.
far in this platform. There's so many Turkish students struggling with being, fully comfortable and proficient in English, because the problem is it's great if you can, read like a newspaper perfectly, but in the professional life it comes down to, communication, as you said. And it's a struggle for many, and maybe for other international students as well. I don't know, but especially for Turkish students, this is a big topic and obstacle.
Yeah, and really the best way to learn is to travel abroad and live in a different country. And when
Yeah.
you get there, try not to mingle with your fellow Turkish
Yeah.
friends, or in
Can't
my
be.
case,
Yeah.
Spanish or Catalan friends. So.
Yeah. And that's so true. Like, whenever it comes down to international students, moving around the globe, you always found, your fellow, Turkish students, or wherever you come from. And obviously, you don't speak English or whatever language you were supposed to speak there,
And it's funny
and
because
you end
like
up
I
speaking
think
in Turkish.
Turkish, it's like a big community, everywhere I've been,
Yeah.
you always find Turkish people everywhere, everywhere.
Yeah.
And as you were mentioning,
Yeah.
because I don't think that we are so far in terms of culture. It's easy for me. It was very easy to me. I have a lot of Turkish friends. Then going back to your question, I think like
Mm-hmm.
another advice that I would give is that you never end up the student stage. Like you will always be a student. So keep that in mind. You need to be learning things every day. Keep curious, and keep learning things. Don't lose this habit of studying and taking new knowledge. And perhaps last but not least, I would suggest to be very aware of what's happening globally and locally. So you need to have like a global perspective. What's going on in the world? What are the geopolitics of the moment? And also, obviously, in Turkey, what's happening in Turkey? What's happening in your region? Because this is important. This will shape some of the decisions you're gonna take, or the problems you're gonna be dealing with.
Correct. Okay, so let's leave career all aside. In general, for high school students, university students, whatever they're doing, whatever they want to become, and especially for Turkish students, since we are hosting you here on a Turkish platform, what are your suggestions in general about life, about whatever it comes to your
Don't
head?
get angry. I would say it's not worth it. It's not worth it. No, but jokes apart, I would say that, again, like keep your mind open, like try to really not only study things but understand things, because in life, and not only in the academic life, but I think in any stage of your life, you need to understand things. If you don't understand things, if you don't understand what's going on with your friend or with your partner, if you don't understand like simple concepts, you cannot make decisions. And sometimes people, like they use like these shortcuts, studying, they memorize things, and it's not about like memorizing. And more, with all the technology coming, AI, all, like the web. And I mean, like, it's not about memorizing, it's about understanding and being able to apply things. And sometimes this takes this takes time to master, like to understand things. It's not at the first reading that you understand things. And perhaps the best way to make sure you understand something, it's to be able to explain it to someone that has no idea about that. So when you're able to explain complex things into simple words, and people see that people understand the concept, that's a great thing to do. So understanding, I would give this tip to students of life.
Yeah.
And don't get frustrated if you don't understand things.
Oh, I think that's the main problem with Turkish culture as well. Like, whatever age you're at, it doesn't matter. Like how many years of experience you have doesn't matter. We have a tendency to be very, we are not a patient group of people. And when it comes to, getting frustrated when we don't understand something, it runs in the blood, I think.
So yeah, then like frustration, you need to set aside frustration and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, and don't lose this drive, like, and eventually you will succeed. That's for sure.
Yeah. Sergi, I want to go quickly a little bit back, because I feel like this may be important as well. We've discussed this with you long time ago as well, but there are a lot of, resources and hot topics about, in the ESG space right now. Would you have any, suggestions to, students so that, they can take a look at, like keep an eye on to, for their, general cultural purposes?
Sure. I mean, there are like different, like pages and channels that I follow. One of them is ESG Today. I would, like if you're interested into ESG, follow ESG. When it comes to sustainable finance, ICMA has a lot of things published. I mean, Google is a great friend if you want to know something about like specifically about like an environmental topic or a social topic, Google it and start reading things, and always look at the when you read a paper. I always mention this to other students because I'm also a professor as a hobby. But like the references, the bibliography, like sometimes it's like, okay, this was based on study XYZ by Asina.
Yeah.
So try to take a look at that at those references, not all of them. And then I am a big fan of the CFA, that, and I think the CFA has great stuff on finance and also sustainability. And this is one of the things we didn't mention, but if you want to get into any topic, it's also important to have some certifications. So when you think about like ESG, maybe the ESG investing certificate, if you want to get into investment management with a focus on ESG or just getting the general knowledge, it's a good tool. There's also like the SASB certifications. That now SASB is part of ISSB. Yeah, I mean, there are tons of resources, and obviously, like my company's research is great as well. So, but I will not get into that.
No, let's be honest. I'm part of the newsletter of Sustainable Fitch, and I love it. Like I love getting those reports. I love getting those webinar requests. So that it's really good. I also follow ESG Today as well, which is a very nice brief, hot topics of what's going on right now, which company did what. So it's really cool. But going back to CFA, I want to, highlight something just in case. Right now, the scholarship applications are open. This is for the, viewers, the audience. The scholarship applications are now open for CFA programs for female students. So I know it may be costly for someone, but until I think mid-February, the females can absolutely apply for that scholarship. And finally, my final question for you is, Sergi, like, would you have any kind of book, movie, I don't know, song suggestions that you would like to share that you think it changed your perspective towards life?
I mean, like, I love so many books and so many movies. It's difficult for me to answer this question, but perhaps I'm gonna just reference two. One more focused on perhaps like my own interests and like cosmology and like the universe. And it's a classical. It's The History of Time by Stephen Hawking. If you're not like very good into physics, but you want to have like a general and broad understanding, I think it's great. And you realize how little or we're nothing. We're really nothing in this universe.
Yeah, we're very
we are
insignificant in the universe. Yeah.
And when you think and when you think about the
Yeah.
length of time of the universe and our spin of life, it's it's ridiculous. So yeah, that would be one that I really enjoyed, and I've been reading other books related to cosmology. Then obviously the movie related to this would be Interstellar. Because it's a great movie.
Of course.
But then an area that I think has a lot of potential for personal and business, let's say, day-to-day decisions, it's behavioral economics. Psychology, it's everything. We are irrational people. We are not rational. In economics, they always speak about this rational man that takes the rational decisions. Yeah. This doesn't exist. Now there's like bounded rationality, and it's another concept. But related to this, I would suggest reading Predictably Irrational by Dan. I won't pronounce his name well. Ariely, I think. Dan Ariely, Predictably Irrational. I mean, it's a great book. It's easy to read. It speaks about all the biases, the cognitive biases that we have. You realize how marketing companies are taking advantage of us from knowing these, cognitive biases.
Freeze-all
they will
tactics. Yeah.
they will still take advantage of you, but at least sometimes you will realize. So I would suggest reading
Yeah.
this book as well.
Yeah. Sergi, thank you so much. Like I'm done with all of my questions, but I always love asking my guests like, do you have anything else that you would like to share before we close the session? Anything you want to highlight? Any comments?
No, I would just say that I hope it's been helpful, and
I think
well,
so.
and just saying thank you for inviting me, and to encourage you to keep this type
Thank you for
of
being here.
sessions, because that's a great initiative, Asina. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sergi. Like, if you have any suggestions from your network, please let me know. Because I truly believe in, it's been 3.5 years since I'm doing this. And, every new guest opens up a new, potential guest, which, ends up being a completely different story. So I really enjoy that. So if you ever think about someone else,
Sure.
let me know. And thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot to me. Foreign language sessions are very rare on this platform. So thank you so much for taking this time. And my final note is that if, any of the students would like to, reach out to you, would LinkedIn be the right,
Sure.
platform?
Just
Okay,
perhaps
perfect.
if they could mention that they attended your session, and
Yeah.
just that they want to connect with me, because otherwise, if I don't know who wants to connect with me, sometimes I do not accept
Yeah.
the invitation. So, but
You're
happy,
absolutely right.
to accept the invitation and to connect and to continue the conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sergi. Once again, it was lovely
It
to
was
have you
lovely to
here.
be here. Thank you very much, Asina, and thank you all.
Thank
See you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.